Welcome to my show. It's a guest here. His name is Nathan Max Osorio. Mr. Nathan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great today. Thank you. How are you, Timmy?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Nathan. And also, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity, Mr. Nathan. Firstly, you are an author. You are also an attorney and an advocate as a person. Can you please, Mr. Nathan, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. Nathan?
Yes, so my you begin with language, master the foundation of human experience. But before that, I've been an immigration attorney in the United States for about 15 years. So that has I've learned a lot in that time, right? And then I'm an advocate. I was also an advocate for um, a special education attorney. I took that on because I have two children who are autistic. So I did that for a time, and then I started writing my book. And so I still am an attorney full time, and I'm now launching this new side of life, this new career with my book, with speaking, in which, I love making an impact for people. I think that's my favorite thing about immigration law, is I focus on families and victims of crimes, so individuals who have suffered. And I know I help them, and they're very thankful. And with this book, I think can have a larger impact. With this work, language is so fundamental to all of us. And, I think it's just my next step in serving.
I'm so glad that from the point of the attorney and he was a person who loves family, who loves helping people and also making people to be happier in the life they find themselves is very beautiful. It shows that you'll be the kind of person who have a very, very beautiful heart. And that is why I would like to dive to the book you've written. You begin with language. Can you please, Mr. Nathan, discuss more on that book? And you also have more book you're planning to write on the coming future, Mr. Nathan.
Yes, yeah. So this is my foundational book. You begin with language. It started, well, I was learning, right? I started my own personal development journey. And then I was just reading books which were interesting to me. And I read some science books, a book on microbes, a book on history. I was just exploring. And then I read a book on language called The Language Instinct by Steven Pinker. And it kind of blew my mind, how language works for us in our brains. And then I read Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, and how language was it really only begins in the first chapter, but it basically shows how with language we became the species we are today. So something was there for me. Something was just like, what is this? Right? What is the power of this? So I started writing and researching, and I thought, I'm going to coach. I can have a coaching program on this because this is a unique approach to personal development. And then I started reading more, and then I would write, and I had more questions. So I would read more and write more questions. And it got so long, it became a book. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm writing a book now. So, um, and it is foundational. It's a very, and I say that because even while writing it, I could see its limitation, and it's such a strong foundation to start on that you can apply it in anything and everything, not only in relationships, but if you have your own, if you do meditation, or if you do affirmations, or if you do other personal development work, sometimes we get stuck, or sometimes we feel like it's not working. Well, this book might help with that.
That is the uniqueness of language in its own way. Language has its own uniqueness as a thing, as a being, and that shows how we could try as human beings to learn more when it comes to language, to understand it more, and to know how to develop it in our own ways so that it could do a lot of tremendous beauty for us. And your book also talk about developing new relationship with language. We do know that there are hundreds of language out there, but when someone says developing a new relationship with language, what do you think it's mean in practical terms, Mr. Nathan?
Well, language, our experience with language is that it's a delivery system, right? It's the vocabulary of a certain language. It's the grammar of that particular language. But it's actually much more than that. When I say develop a new relationship, what I mean is experiencing it as a way that we create our reality. So we actually create the world that we experience with our language. So in reality, it's a tool. And when we can experience it in that way, when we can connect with it in that way, we can create intentionally with it, right? And it transforms how we think, how we act, and how we relate to others.
Wow, that shows that it shows how we could build some sense of relationship, build some sense of alignment with people. Because with language, there are different backgrounds. And if we could try our best to learn how we can develop this language and see how to bring out a new relationship regarding it, it will really, really help. And also, there are also mistakes when it comes to someone trying to, use this language for communication framework. So, in your experience, Mr. Nathan, what do you think is the biggest mistake people make when trying to follow communication framework, Mr. Nathan?
I think the biggest mistake is them trying to force it, is them trying to stay rigid in the communication framework. Because what really happens is when you're focusing on the structure, you're not listening to the person, right? And you don't really hear them. So, there's value in using a framework, but if you get too focused on it, you actually lose the connection.
And that is true. When one is having a communication with someone and one is trying to bring a genuine conversation and someone is having this kind of framework regarding it, it's cause a lot of things when it comes to connection with that person. It makes us to be in a position whereby we are not able to have this kind of communication, this kind of dialogue that we connect with one another. Even as a person who do a lot of things like this, when someone is having this conversation one on one regarding not a framework and stuff like that, it shows that connection and it makes it more understandable. And that is how powerful language is in its own way. And also, I would like to dive to some phrases or approaches. In the life we find ourselves today, we have to know how to approach. We have to also know how to use some phrases that we can use when we are in a point of conflict or where we're in a point of disagreement with someone. So, what do you think are some of the phrases or approaches that you think help open the door to reconciliation after a disagreement, Mr. Nathan?
You know, I don't think there's any magic phrase, in the sense that there's something to get right. What I think the first thing is to just get their message. Just hear them. Now, that's step one in my book, but hearing them doesn't mean agreeing, doesn't mean accepting, doesn't mean, if even, some people want to have reconciliation, they start by attacking you, or they start by saying all the things you did wrong or how you made them feel. It doesn't mean accepting that. It just means listening to them and with no response. And we don't naturally do that. We always think of, in my book, I divide it into three steps: the receiving the message, the processing the message, and then responding. We don't separate those. We naturally just do all three at the same time. So the first step is just to get them, just to get what they're saying, just hear them without having a response, which is very difficult. But that's really how reconciliation begins, just hearing them.
Very, very powerful. That shows that we have to have this sense of knowing how to listen. We have to know how to listen. We have to know how to get that message first. When we get that message first, then we know how we can work with those message and see how we can use it to solve that disagreement or to solve that conflict. And I agree with you, Mr. Nathan. It is not easy to do such thing. It is really, really tough. But we have to know how to we have to try our best to listen, to get the message so that we can bring out something that is really, really productive. And also, for people who want to improve their communication strategy, there is a way when it comes to language and how we could try our best as humans to improve that communication strategy. So if you think someone wanted to just improve that communication starting today, what do you think is the first or small change that you could suggest that they can do to just develop that language, to just develop a way of communication, Mr. Nathan?
Well, I think the first thing, like we just talked about, is practicing receiving the message without responding. See, we come up with responses automatically. They're right there. They're right there all the time. So the first thing they can do is, as soon as you hear the message, whatever comes up, whatever thought or judgment or but or wait a minute, just label it as a response. See that it's separate from listening, right? If you can practice that, just get the message, then this actually what's the tool you develop is you develop the way to interrupt the automatic language processing, right? Because we automatically want to respond. We automatically know what we're going to say. When we see someone who we don't like and they come and talk to us, I already have judgments about them. I already know them. I know what they're going to say. I know I'm not going to like it. I know I don't want to hear it. All those judgments are responses. And they don't even have to say anything. It's before they open their mouth. And we already have all that there. So when you have those come up, because they will always come up, we're human. They will always come up. The practice is interrupting them, seeing what they are. They're not listening. They're processing. They're responding. And you will get there. We have to process. We have to respond. But the power is in separating them. But practice just identifying, okay, that's a response. That's a judgment. Right. We automatically, when we hear something, we automatically want to respond. It's all in one, right? But receiving is its own separate act. And that's the first step to really be able to improve communication because you want to just get what they're saying, or even what you say to yourself, right? You just want to get it. You don't want to believe it. You don't want to accept it. You don't have to do anything else with it. That comes next. Just hear it. Just hear it. And that's very difficult to do because we always want to respond. We always have something there. And we make judgments and decisions about people even before they open their mouth, right? So putting that aside, well, identifying them as, okay, this is not listening. This is responding, right? Because we will respond. That's how we communicate. But identifying, just first receiving, just get it. Don't agree with it, don't accept it, just get it. And whatever comes up, I label it as a response and then put it aside. That's a very difficult and unnatural thing to do, but that's the first step. That's the first small change you can do to really begin to improve your communication with anyone and everyone.
Beautiful. Identifying the points. When we can try to identify the negative and the patterns regarding ourselves, when we are having a vibrant communication or an argument, we could recognize the points where we are getting triggered to the next part. Then we are going to get how we could solve it because it is when we recognize the issue, then we know how we could solve it. So identifying it and helping ourselves to look for how we could resolve it is one of the first and best way we could try our best to improve our language and also improve the communication that we are having with people. And also, when you say identifying ourselves, it speaks a lot to define the kind of person we are. And that is where I would like to dive to learning with ourselves. As humans, what do you think are the most surprising things that we can learn about ourselves just by observing, identifying how we speak, Mr. Nathan?
Well, I think one of the things we learn is how little we actually listen to people, you know, um, because we automatically want to respond. We already have judgments, you know. We have judgments with people we see walking down the street that we've never met. Once we pass them, we'll never speak to again. But we already make judgments about them, right? And judgments have helped us in our lives as a species, right? We know not to jump in a fire or else we're going to get hurt, right? It's a good judgment. But it doesn't always serve us. It doesn't always serve us in what we're up to now, what we want to accomplish. Right. So I think that's one of the craziest things that you'll really experience. It's like, wow, I don't listen. I automatically respond. And listening is very powerful. And when you feel heard by someone, you have a different experience of them, right? Someone you're like, oh wow, you're hearing me, you're getting me. And when they feel heard by you, they have a different experience of you. So that's one of the most surprising things is how little we do that, but also how intentional we can be with that. We can have that experience every day with everyone.
Yes, in our community, in our surrounding, in our businesses, in every single thing we are doing, we can develop the sense of communicating with people, developing the sense to identify and observe the points where we should pause, the points where we should talk, the points where we should react or not react. If we could have these little things in mind, I think a lot of things we develop regarding with the people, and also we will know how to create some sense of dialogue and conversations with people, which is very important and necessary, even in our time today. Also, if there is any habits that you think can keep that communication, because we have gotten to a point now, I can listen, I can respond, I can pause, I can know when to react or not. But there is a point whereby one has to maintain that thing. And what do you think are the habits that can help keep that communication clear and compassionate from your experience, Mr. Nathan?
One of the things which I started not that long ago was I in the mornings to connect with my work, I think of the mantra or I say it out loud, new choices, new outcomes. Because every decision, even listening is a choice, right? Responding is a choice.
Yeah.
Our human experience, the most powerful expression of being a human is choosing. So if we connect to that every day, and especially if something triggers us or something comes up and we feel annoyed, flustered, or we're overwhelmed, how we respond, how we talk to ourselves, how we speak with others is a choice. So for me, that I have that on my wall now, new choices, new outcomes. And that helps me get back to connecting with my own work because I'm human and I can easily get frustrated, annoyed, out of sync. But that's something that's really helped me. And by connecting, by being centered in that, we can be compassionate. We can choose to be compassionate. We can choose to communicate clearly.
That is very important and necessary. To be honest with you, we have to get to a point whereby we have to just get to choose. I want to maintain this. I want to maintain this communication, and I want to try my best to see myself being more productive with this communication I've developed. It is a matter of choice. If we decide, or if you and I, or we as people decide to maintain it, it will definitely continue to grow and improve because, as you said, we are human beings. Human beings have this programming whereby we can be, annoyed sometimes, we can overreact sometimes, and that is how we are. We are the one that should know how to use it, how to maintain it, and how to develop ourselves to not get out of the line. And that is the most important thing we need to know. And also, we do know that communication, using some kind of language is important, but wound is also another part. When we as humans are wounded, it's not even the physical part now, Mr. Nathan. Internally, that is one of the issues that causes this kind of annoyance, this kind of reaction at times. When the body is being wounded, reaction just comes out. So, do you think when we are more careful, more observant with our language, do you think that alone can heal deep wounds? Or do you think it can just be paired with other actions, Mr. Nathan?
Language is a great place to begin because
Okay.
is there's not only the wound is an experience, right? And we use language to describe it. But we also have experiences where we which are so magical, so joyous, or so painful that we say that we can't explain it, right? We use words like you had to be there, or it's ineffable, or it's unimaginable. Now, there's an interplay though. We can have a deep wound, and the more we talk about it, the deeper it gets, right? So we use both. And the beginning place is to start which is which, because experiencing the wound is one thing, but when you talk about it and when you just try to analyze it, it can get deeper and deeper. So your relationship with language is very important, and it's a very powerful starting point because once you can separate the experience from the language, then you can actually find a place to heal.
Wow, that is very, very powerful. That shows that our language says a lot about us. There's even something I use you to hear, the way we react first with a person really define who we are. When I meet someone and the way I just react with the kind of language I use, spark that other person, the kind of person I am, it's just being that kind of memory that this kind of person is someone like this. And that shows how we need to work on our communication. We need to work on the language we have. We need to work on it because that shows that it is the first part we need to take if we want to heal from a lot of wounds. Because if we know how to choose what we say and how we could use it well, I think the wound will not be something that will affect us again. It will be something that will come, process, then heal, then come back
Yeah.
again. And that is
I,
very,
yeah, no, I would just amend one thing you're saying is that we need to. We don't need to do anything, Timmy. We can live our life the way we've lived our life, how we've always been, but we have a choice. We get the opportunity to. And that's one of the things, where we say we need, we should, they must. Those are creations in our language too. But what I offer in my book, it's a beginning place to transform your life, right? That's what we're looking for. If that's what we want, well, then that's what we can get.
mm. You can also say, Mr. Nathan, that also some things that I also need to develop when it comes to the kind of conversation and language. It is a matter of choice. And that is it. We could live the way we want to live, but it comes back to us. That is it. It comes back to us if we decide if we want to do it well, it will come well. And if we decide the otherwise, it comes otherwise. And that is very powerful. Thank you so much for the correction, Mr. Nathan. Thank you so much. I would like to go back to your book, which is very important. You begin with language. If there is anything, or if the audience could take away one lesson from your book, Mr. Nathan, what do you think it should be, Mr. Nathan?
Well, I think it's, uh, when someone truly feels heard, they experience you differently. And when you feel truly heard, you experience yourself differently. And something that you said in the beginning is perfect. It's that language connects us all.
Yeah,
It's something as I finished writing my book, I really got present to. Um, we are all connected. Strangers from different countries, from different lands, different languages. The fact that we can learn each other's languages and communicate, we think that's the power of language. It's not. We're all humans. We can all relate. We can all listen to each other. We can all process. And that's really the beautiful thing of language. So we can be so connected to others, but it starts with listening to each other.
very, very powerful. If we can try our best to process and learn how to listen to people, I think we'll know how to process it and know what to bring out next. And that is where we need to understand. Need to choose. And we also have to have this kind of choice. It's our own decision to do it. And it's also our decisions to know how we could process it and to know how we could react. Because the message we hear, we have to listen, process it, and know how we could bring out the next thing we have to bring out so that we can bring out more profound and impactful dialogue that will help every single one of us. This world is beautiful. I usually say it is very beautiful. But if we know how we could use little, little things like this, If we choose, because it's a matter of choice, if we choose to do this, I think we will be in a better place in life. And also, Mr. Nathan, there is a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mr. Nathan, what do you think that thing will be, Mr. Nathan?
You know, I don't have a sense if this is something was that was really in the past, but the ability to, so language connects us all. But
Yeah.
I heard an interview many years ago about, breaking bread, about just being at the table and sharing each other's food and sharing. I think if we could have that, bring that back as more of a common practice, right? Being in front of each other, sharing different meals together and talking, and we have the technology, but the technology separates us more than anything, right? It connects us in so many great ways, but in the same way, we get used to it and like, oh, this is the normal. No, we've only had this, what, Zoom and televideo for what, not even 50 years? It's, even we had the very first ones. No, there's the experience of connecting that I think I would I, I would like to see more of, and I would like to participate in more of. Right.
I'm so happy that, as a person, I think you still value the sense of family, connection, which is what we are missing in our time today. In our world today, we are humans, as we've said earlier, and we have to know how to create a sense of communication and also community with one another, because that is what we are connected to, nature. And if we know how to do that well, I think we'll have the sense of more kindness. And also, we will get to a point whereby we'll know how to use the kind of language and things that we also need as well. And that is very, very necessary in the world we find ourselves. We need to bring back family, community. We need to show ourselves the love. Technology is great. To be honest, it's great, but we shouldn't use it to a point whereby we now forget the real norms of life. I think that is just the little issue with it. So I also want to use this opportunity, Mr. Nathan, to thank you for the time and the opportunity. Language is very, very powerful, and we have to know how to use it. If we use it well, it's going to work well for us. And if we decide, because it's a matter of choice, if we decide not to use it well, then we see otherwise. And we should be ready to face the consequences that goes by it. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity, and also the patience, Mr. Nathan. Thank you so much, sir.
No, thank you. Could I say one more thing, actually? Or that I would love to. Um, you have it. You're so right about what we can create afterwards. But I want people to know that creation will happen because when you get the stuff out of your way that you've created automatically, there's new opportunities, right? There's new opportunities that you will discover, that you will see. My book came out that way. I didn't want to write a book. I was exploring this work, right? I didn't want to practice special education law. While I was working on my book and on my work, I saw this as an opportunity. Lawyers, people don't change career normally so quickly in different times of their life. You're there and you feel stuck, and that's where it is. But who said that? Who said you're stuck? Who said you can't? You, so you're so right. And I want people to get that not only can you, but you will. Why? Because we are creative beings. We're always looking. We always want to express, but we limit ourselves with our own language. We limit others with our language. So it will happen. It's just do the work.
It's not going to be easy, but we have to do the work. It's for the best for every single one of us so that we could try our best to live a life that we will be happy and will be proud of. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day, Mr. Nathan. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye to me. Bye.